everybody, welcome back to Big Ben's Movie Show. Again, I am your host, Big Ben, and today on the show we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things. We're going to be talking about the movie Marshall. We're going to be talking about Netflix and all the great binge-worthy stuff on there. But first we're going to start talking about Harvey Weinstein, and to do that we're going to be talking with our co-host for this week, Joshua Furtado.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Awesome to have you back. Josh is the most popular, which I don't need to tell you, you're watching this on YouTube. Josh is the most popular YouTube host we've ever had. So thanks for coming back.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, no, awesome. That's a cool little moniker to have. You should get a coffee mug or something.
You'll probably have that made.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and start things off with headlines, and we do this every week. Normally, though, headlines is a bit of a place where we get to kind of poke fun at Hollywood and what's going on over there. This week, not so much. The stuff that's going on in Hollywood is kind of taking a more somber tone this week with the news of Harvey Weinstein and the stuff that he's been up to. Harvey Weinstein on October 5th was accused of sexual assault by several people. Since then, it's been a waterfall of different people coming forward. I have a list here of all the alleged victims, and the list is enormous, and there's a lot of names on this list that you'd recognize and frankly be a little shocked that they're on this list and haven't talked about it. Rosanna Arquette, Kate Beckinsale, Cara Delevingne, Claire Forlani, Heather Graham, Ava Green, Angelina Jolie, Ashley Judd, Minka Kelly, Rose McGowan, who's been one of the most vocal people in this whole thing, Rose McGowan, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Mira Sorvino. Those are the names that, as I was reading it, were the names that kind of jumped out to me. There's 41 different women, though, who have come forward and said that Weinstein sexually assaulted them in some way. 4 of those women have said that he actually raped them. So that's obviously even much worse. The story about the hallway restaurant with Laura Sivan, who's a journalist, is awful and is all over the internet. You can read that everywhere. And we're already seeing the effects of this ripple through Hollywood. He's been fired as part of the Weinstein Company. His studio is tanking as every single agency in town is distancing themselves from him. Nobody wants to work with him anymore. And then we're also seeing the effect now as it's spreading out to all the people that have worked with him in the past. People like Quentin Tarantino, Ben Affleck, Kevin Smith have all come forward and made statements. What Quentin's statement was that he can't make an official statement right now. His statement actually came through his friend Amber Tamblyn. She made a statement for him saying that he is sickened and is upset by this, and he can't speak about it officially. He needs to think about it some more, and he says he's going to make an official statement next week. But we've already gotten statements from Ben Affleck, who immediately condemned his actions and said this is terrible, this is awful. The problem with that for Ben Affleck, though, was that Ben Affleck isn't totally blameless in this whole thing. Then we immediately heard after Ben Affleck came out and said this is terrible and awful that I believe Rose McGowan pointed out that he was present for some of these things, and he's that therefore is in some way culpable. This is just awful. I don't know. When I think about all this, do we think this is going to have a rippling effect on the entire industry?
I think it might, because we can already see it with so many people, saying that they are, like Kevin Smith, ashamed to have worked with him at all. And
actually, let's go ahead and read the official Kevin Smith quote on this. And to the people in the booth, I'm sorry about the images. We're jumping around a little bit. Kevin Smith says, "He financed the first 14 years of my career, and now I know while I was profiting, others were in terrible pain. It makes me feel ashamed." That was Kevin Smith's tweet that when someone asked him what he thought. Go ahead with your point on.
Yeah, it's of course it's going to have a rippling effect. It's a huge corporation.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big. They started Miramax.
Yeah.
They moved on to their own their named corporation, and it's going to have an effect because there are so many movies under this. I looked at the list of movies that have been under them, and there's so many and so many people involved in this. It has to. When someone this big has done something like this, it has to affect the rest of the corporation and the rest of Hollywood.
Rest of the industry.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that we're noticing now is that Harvey Weinstein's behavior, as deplorable as it is, probably the worst part is that he's not the only one. Mm-hmm. Now we're hearing people are coming forward and speaking out finally about lots of different producers, directors, basically people in power that have been abusive, that have been just despicable, horrible people doing terrible, terrible things. And it's not just women coming forward. Men are coming forward and saying stuff too. I mean, basically someone has now pulled the sheet off of every terrible thing in Hollywood, and we're seeing all of it at once. Hopefully the hope of this is that stuff it'll be exposed, and then it'll get cleaned up and cleaned out. I think that's what we're hoping for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has to. If everything gets exposed, nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
It's out there, and in the technological age we have now, you can barely do anything without everyone knowing you're doing this.
So speaking of that, somebody, so Ben Affleck, when he came out and said, "Oh, this is terrible, I condemn his actions," somebody then pointed out that Ben Affleck once, on camera for MTV, groped a correspondent for MTV during the show. And then somebody pointed out on Twitter, Ben Affleck groped somebody on MTV, but everybody forgot about it. And then Hillary Burton, the woman who was groped, replied to that tweet, "I didn't forget about it."
Yeah.
And now there's video of that all over the place. You can see it. Basically, he did the reach around move where he came in for a hug and reached all the way around and grabbed her breast, which is, it's probably not as despicable as some of the stuff we're seeing from Weinstein, but at the same time, it's low class, it's gross, it's definitely assault. It is.
Yeah.
It's whether as benign as it might seem to Ben Affleck probably at the time, it's assault. And that's not okay. So yeah.
Interesting with Weinstein, though, when I was doing a little bit of research, Ken was helping because he was looking up some stuff on him too. According to TMZ, his contract states that he can do this as long as he pays the legal fees and settles out of court.
Oh my gosh.
This is according to TMZ, so I don't know how accurate this information is.
It does sound pretty accurate.
But I find this is really...
Yeah,
this is really uncalled for.
It's so gross that that's actually... They thought about that in advance and made legal room for that to happen.
Which makes me think that something happened prior to this and was brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
And placed in his contract that he's,
and we're hearing about that too with all these allegations that a lot of people were just paid off and silenced that way. And, hopefully now they're coming forward too, although a lot of them might be under non-disclosure agreements because of the results of the settlement.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is all just a disgusting, despicable thing. In terms of the rest of the industry, we've now seen the ripples of that starting too. Roy Price, the head of Amazon's film department, Amazon, of course, through Amazon Prime, has now been making television shows and films. And Roy Price has also come under allegations of sexual assault and was promptly fired.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. So Harvey Weinstein was fired from the Weinstein Company. They're now talking about kicking him out of the Producers Guild.
Ooh.
They're talking about kicking him out of the Motion Picture Association, so that, like currently he's one of the people who gets to vote on the Oscars, and he's part of the Motion Picture Academy and all that. He'd get kicked out of all of that. Basically, he would be banished from anything having to do with movies. Which, for somebody who's had the career that he's had, I mean, and that's the other thing. We talked about the Kevin Smith quote that he financed his career. This guy launched the careers of a lot of people that we all do like. I mean, it's Good Will Hunting. Say what you want about Ben Affleck, but Good Will Hunting is a very good movie that him and Matt Damon wrote together. Matt Damon owes a lot of his career to Harvey Weinstein. Kevin Smith's whole career, whether you like it or not, especially some of the later stuff. Talking about yoga hosers, Kev. Not good.
At least he admits to it, though.
At least he jokes about it, that it's all rough stuff. But then somebody like Quentin Tarantino, every single Tarantino movie has come out through Harvey Weinstein. To now, and to think that, that's... I mean, his brother is still there, so his brother can still run the company and keep things up like that. And it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting thing to see how the future of this breaks out. Obviously, I think the first thing that a lot of us would like to see is Harvey Weinstein get punished for something.
Oh, definitely.
Go to jail. Personally, jail. I think jail would be the thing that we're all really... I think that's the only thing that would actually feel in any way psychically satisfying.
For anybody,
All right. Let's be done with that. We're going to close the book on that for this week. We're going to talk about better things. Specifically, we're going to talk about the movie Marshall. This movie Marshall is based on Marshall Thurgood Marshall, the real person, first African-American appointee to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Correct. Yeah.
And this movie follows a case from earlier in his life. We actually, in a little twist of fate, we ended up at the same showing. There was only two to choose from. And we were the only people in the theater. I brought my daughter. You brought
Ken.
Your
my
boyfriend,
fiance.
fiance.
We're not legally married yet, but so.
Yeah. You brought your fiance, and so we all sat together and watched the movie. And I'm amazed because this movie is so good. I'm amazed no one else was in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie is really, really good. What did you think about it? What about it did you like?
So I didn't get a lot of research on it yet because I wanted to see it through the film, because usually I'll do research on a historical film. But I found that it was really respectable to what they were trying to do, like showing the discrimination, not just to African Americans either. Yeah, if you remember. And showing the struggle that really goes on, and part of our history of the struggle that people faced and still face today. Yeah,
that's another thing. This movie is so perfectly timed to come out now, as we're dealing with Black Lives Matter, as we as a country are reeling from the events of Charlottesville. To see a movie like this where there are, I mean, they weren't wearing swastikas, but they sure were talking like Nazis.
They really were. Yeah,
including, Josh has mentioned, not just going after the black characters in the movie, but also the Jewish characters in the movie. That's another thing. So from the trailer, I knew Chadwick Boseman was going to be in it. Yeah. Love Chadwick Boseman, love his stuff. I knew Josh Gad was going to be in the movie. I didn't know what a big part of the movie he was going to be.
Yeah, neither did I.
I mean, he's basically like a lead. Like he's him and Chadwick Boseman are basically the leads of this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't expect that to happen, and I didn't know Kate Hudson was going to be in the movie at all.
I didn't either.
Yeah, that was a very nice little surprise, because Kate Hudson is quite good as the victim of the movie.
Oh yeah, she plays very well.
Yeah, did a very good job with it. So basically, though, this movie tells a story that I feel like I've kind of heard stories like this before. Yeah. To me, the big twist on this was that while Thurgood Marshall was allowed to participate in the case, he wasn't allowed to speak in court. Yeah. And that's the thing that changes this whole story on its head, is that Josh Gad's character, Sam Friedman, who had never tried a criminal case before, now is in court trying a very, very important criminal case. Yeah, that definitely upped the stakes for the whole movie and really made it very enjoyable.
And you also get to see his character evolve.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's not wanting any part of this at the beginning.
No.
He wants nothing to do with it. And then you watch as his character actually evolves, and Josh Gad makes a wonderful performance, and I like that he's not just the comic relief in this.
Oh, not at all.
He's not the comic relief. One or two jokes. One or two jokes from him.
Barely any jokes at all.
But he plays such a serious part, and it's amazing to watch this character evolve and watch Josh Gad play him evolving into the final scenes, and how much the character learns. And it was just amazing to watch this. Yeah.
No, it's a great movie. It's a historical movie about a real person who was so important to this country's history. Definitely something that I mean, it sounds like we're both going to recommend this, but I definitely would recommend it.
I would definitely recommend this movie, just as even if you don't know anything about Thurgood Marshall at all.
Especially if you don't know anything about Thurgood Marshall,
This will teach you a lot about what he did, what he stood for, and how he fought. And I can't rave about this movie much. I'm glad I chose this movie because it was a fantastic choice. This movie is wonderful. I highly recommend anyone who has the time, go see this movie.
Great movie.
It's a wonderful
movie. Out
of
10, and you can use 0.5s if you want. Where would you?
I'd probably give it a 9.5 on the scale. Yes, it's that good of a movie. I put this really up there because it's just and I'm taking it as a movie.
9.5 is a rare air for me. I don't know if we're going to go that high.
You don't have to go that high.
Now you're going to make me look bad.
No, I'm not going to make you look bad. I mean, you rate movies more often than I do.
That's true. I
usually watch bad films, if you remember correctly.
Yes.
I like really bad horror films most of the time, but when I go see something to the theater, I like historical films. I like some action films. I'm putting this in a category of the historical films that I've seen, and I place it pretty high up because a lot of them have been not so accurate. This one was pretty accurate from what I've researched. So I highly recommend this film.
I was going to go probably like an 8.5, just because it's and I think ultimately there could have been more. There could have been. I think they took a story that wasn't a 10 of a story. Yeah. But they did elevate it. It's a solid story. It's a good story. And this is the problem with things that are true history like this. Sometimes the story doesn't fit the movie subplot or fit the movie structure very well. I feel like they did a good job of that. But also I think if you have a little more artistic license, you can usually do more with it. It's a good movie. It's a very solid movie. Definitely go see it. Definitely bring your family. It's a great movie. I brought my daughter.
Yeah.
And it was a great thing to show her this actual bit of history. I got to say though, there was a lot of words that came up in that movie that my daughter's 11. We had to have some serious talks about that for the rest of the ride home. Because the movie, the case and subject is a situation where the reason Thurgood Marshall's involved is that there is a black man's accused of raping a white woman and then trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And then you watch that case unfold. So I had to discuss with my daughter what rape was. I had to discuss a lot of the language of the movie.
Yeah.
Even words that were acceptable for the time that I don't like to say now.
Oh yeah, definitely not. No.
You know, the word that I consider N-word light. Because and that word was acceptable for the time, but now I don't even like to say that word.
I understand.
Yeah. All right. Well, Marshall, definitely go see it.
Wonderful, wonderful film.
Great movie.
Yeah. Next
up, we're going to be talking about networks. It's Netflix. It's binge worthy. Let's see what's binge worthy. All right, so the first thing that we looked at for this is last week we talked about movies that we liked, and me and my co-host both picked a movie. This week we're talk about movies, and we're also going to pick a TV show. We're going to go with Josh's picks first. The movie you picked, which movie is that?
I picked The Perfect Host as my film. I watched it back when it first came out. Wonderful film. I didn't watch a lot of Netflix in the last couple of months because I've been in school and doing a lot with school and work. So I had to look to see what kind of movies were on Netflix, and I saw this one on there. And I thought, well, this is a fantastic psychological thriller for people to come see, or to go see, because it's a wonderful film. It's David Hyde Pierce stars in it, and he does a fantastic job. And I can't rave about this film very much.
I got to say, I had never seen this movie, but because you picked it, I remember the cover art. I've seen the cover art where he's holding the glass of wine.
Yep.
And I thought it was just him being like a creepy killer. I watched the trailer. It is so much more than that.
Yes.
And it also features the victim of the movie is the guy who plays Riggs on the Lethal Weapon TV show.
Yes.
Who he is the best part of that show. In fact, initially was the only reason I kept watching was him.
Oh, nice.
He's great. And then, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this movie is a guy doesn't break into his house, but sneaks into his house and is trying to hide from the cops.
Yes.
So a criminal gets into his house, and what he doesn't realize is that David Hyde Pierce is crazy.
Yes.
It's in the trailer. You can kind of pick out what's going on. I guess I don't want to totally spoil it, but there's way more going on than what it seems. Because what it seems like is that David Hyde Pierce has now kidnapped this man and is going to have a dinner party, and he's just going to be there for the dinner party.
Yeah, that's.
And you're like, okay, that sounds like a zany, rompy. But no, there's a whole darker level going on.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
On IMDb, I think it was IMDb, says it as comic, thriller, something, and I don't see it as being really comical. The trailer made it seem really funny. There is some.
At one point, he's dancing on a table.
Yes. Okay. So it's comical in the psycho way.
Yeah.
Like he's from the trailer, you can tell that he's not all there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that he's not all there, and so. He hosts the dinner party. There's a great twist at the end. I highly recommend watching this.
Okay.
Seeing the twist is just amazing.
It seemed like
No.
One of the twists seems to be given away in the trailer, but I'm guessing it's more.
There's more to it. There's a lot more to it from the trailer gives you. There's one twist that the trailer kind of hints to, but you don't really, unless you've seen it.
There's a joke at the end of the trailer that seems like it's definitely obvious what's going on.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen the trailer, but
he asks one of the guests to help him pick him up.
Yeah.
And you can guess how that goes.
Yes, I can.
So yeah.
But it
didn't go well.
It's a really great film. I highly recommend watching that.
I'm now looking at your TV choice and realizing that they're kind of linked.
I just noticed that too.
All right, let's go ahead and move to that. So your choice to binge for TV. I didn't even know this was on Netflix.
I didn't either until I found it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Because again,
which show is this?
So for my Netflix binge watch, I chose Dexter, which has quite a few seasons to it. Now, the reason I chose this was because when I first met my partner, he was watching Dexter.
Okay.
And I caught into it like season 4 or 5, I think. And so I missed like huge plot points. But it kind of follows the way you know what's going on, kind of, and he explains certain things to me. But I kind of want to go back and watch it from the beginning. I want to see how this show develops.
You should have done what my wife did when she caught me watching Game of Thrones in season 3 and then got interested and said, "You can't watch anymore. We have to go back and watch all of it together." You probably don't want to do that.
I'm trying to think if we ever did that with the show. We did go back and watch all of Friends.
Okay.
We binge watched Friends. The show that I wanted to put on the list is no longer on Netflix, so I didn't put it on there.
What was it?
My original option was Ally McBeal.
Oh yeah,
I binge watched that a couple summers ago.
I also binged what Jennifer, my wife, she's going back and watching all these classic television comedies. Currently, we're on Golden Girls.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, she went back when it was on Netflix. She went back and binged all of Ally McBeal. We've done Cheers. We've done Frasier.
Cheers is still on Netflix.
Cheers is still available. Yeah, there's so much great TV on there. Yeah. But why isn't Golden Girls on Netflix?
I know.
This is my petition. Write your congressman. Let's get Golden Girls on Netflix. I don't know if congressmen are in charge of that or not.
I don't.
But yeah, Doug LaMalfa, put Golden Girls on Netflix.
You said you're one of us. We want to see that.
There you go. All right, now moving on to my picks. My pick for a movie, and this might not technically be out yet, but I saw it on a list of stuff that I believe is coming out this week, and I got all excited because I get excited anytime. This is a stand-up special by Patton Oswalt. This is Annihilation. I love Patton Oswalt stuff. To me, this is one of the few comedians where every one of his stand-up sets is always funny, always great. I can't remember a single one that I haven't just loved. So yeah, no, I'm totally on board for Annihilation. I haven't even seen it yet, but I'm going to recommend it to you because I feel that strongly about Patton Oswalt. And then when it comes to TV shows, stuff that's binge-worthy, this is another show that I have binged, and it helps that it is a Netflix show, so it comes out all at once, so you can always binge it. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt might have the best theme song of any TV show I have ever heard. And it's one of those shows that it's normally when I'm watching a Netflix show, I'm like, all right, let's fast forward through the intro. I don't need to hear that over and over again. Like I'm currently watching The Office. And as much as I like that song, I usually hit skip intro. Yeah. I don't do that for Kimmy Schmidt. I sit and listen to every second of that because it's just Unbreakable. Yeah. And I watch the whole, I love it. And then the show itself is also awesome.
It's a great show.
It feels like 30 Rock just kept going.
Yeah.
And it just started on with a whole new character set and just launched. Yeah. And yeah, it's just more 30 Rock. So if you like 30 Rock, definitely check out Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, we watch it too, so it's fantastic.
Great show. Love that. All right, coming down to the home stretch here, we're about to play Does It Matter? A little bit different this time because I actually have specific questions. So this isn't necessarily Does It Matter? It's something else. Not sure. We'll rename this segment later. All right, number one, here we go. Gambit, which we've been now talking about for 2 or 3 weeks, has now had his official release date. It was actually supposed to release this week. Yeah. Was the original release date. That didn't happen, obviously. So now they have a new director. We talked about that last week, Gore Verbinski from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And they are now set to release in February of 2019 on Valentine's Day, actually. Oh. Now, knowing that is the new release date and knowing that this movie was supposed to release this week, should we trust that release date?
I don't know if we should trust it.
I think that answers the question.
It's kind of, okay, so Gambit is one of my favorite X-Men.
Mine too, yeah.
I love Gambit. A lesser one is Jubilee. I love her. A lot of people don't like her. And I've wanted to see a Gambit movie for a while, and so I've been hoping for it, but then I haven't gotten my hopes up too much anymore.
Gotcha.
So if it comes out, hooray. If it doesn't, I'm not disappointed because I didn't expect it.
Are you happy with Channing Tatum playing Gambit?
I am happy with Channing Tatum.
Okay. I am too, actually. I think he'll be able to pull it off. I think he'll do a better job than Taylor Kitsch did. Although I didn't hate Taylor Kitsch, but I didn't like his portrayal of the character. Everyone hated that movie. Well, yeah. A lot of people hated that movie. But I think he was upset that he wasn't chosen as Gambit. I think there was probably some kind of scuffle. He's got a bit of a curse.
He does.
Every time he's in a movie, especially a big movie with a big budget, that movie tanks.
Yeah.
Because he went from X-Men Origins Wolverine to, I believe, Battleship.
Yeah.
To John Carter of Mars. Battleship and John Carter both are some of the biggest flops in movie history. John Carter of Mars especially lost so much money that now everyone's like, maybe it's him. When you're in one flop, you're like, oh, it could have been the writer. It could have been maybe it just wasn't the right time for that movie. And then when you're in another flop, they're like, all right, maybe it's you. And then when you're in the third flop, they're like, dude, it's you. People don't like you. Even though they're saying they like you, They're not coming to your movies,
No.
so figure that out. He actually was just an American Assassin. He played the bad guy.
Oh, okay.
He did a decent job.
Yeah, that's well, nice.
So, number 2, Beetlejuice 2 is one. It's still a thing.
Yeah.
This has actually been on the books. We've heard Kevin Smith told stories about this back in the '90s that they offered to let him write Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
I think I saw something about that.
That was going to be Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian because why wouldn't it be better in Hawaii?
Yeah.
So they're still talking about writing it. I believe Hawaii is now off the table as an option. But the person that just stepped up, that just stepped away to write it, was Seth Grahame-Smith. Seth Grahame-Smith is a writer who was also famous for not writing The Flash. He was the second one. He took over when the guys from the Lego movie were going to do The Flash. They left. Seth Grahame-Smith stepped up. Then he left. Then another director stepped up. And so The Flash is a great big mess. But Beetlejuice 2, now that guy's stepping away from this too. At this point, I feel like I know him more from what he hasn't done than what he has.
Yeah.
I mean, is this going to hurt the movie just chances of getting made? The fact that it's now lost another writer.
Well, things that the writer that it's losing, probably not.
That's possible. Some addition by subtraction here.
Yeah, addition by subtraction on this one, but so I don't think it'll. Honestly, I don't know if this movie will ever get made.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been in the works for what, 20-something years?
20 years at least, yeah.
At least 20 years, but I do know that they did.
Michael Keaton is super hot right now.
Yeah, right.
So
they did talk to him about doing this second Beetlejuice along with Tim Burton and Winona Ryder.
And see, if it was Tim Burton doing it, I think I'd be more inclined to watch it.
And I think it would probably get made.
Like he's necessarily involved. Yeah.
No.
So
they're in talks with him, but I don't think it's.
All right, last one on the list. Kevin Feige wants to do a Marvel-only Comic-Con. So every year in San Diego, they do Comic-Con. Marvel's there, DC's there, everybody's there. But there also is now a couple different Comic-Cons that are specific. Disney does one called D23. I believe it's every other year, but it's a big deal when it happens, and Marvel's pretty much all over that too. Yeah. Marvel's now talking about doing a yearly thing that would be just for them, kind of the same way Star Wars does. I gotta say, I think that's a good idea, and I would think they should do that.
I think their wording is wrong. They want to do a Marvel Comic-Con, which they actually state Marvel Comic-Con. So it's not like that, but they have a wide variety of media. It would be a MarvelCon, which is perfectly acceptable because it's a convention.
But it wouldn't necessarily be an actual comic.
A comic book convention. Yeah, I don't like the wording. I think MarvelCon.
I think they've taken the San Diego Comic Con and applied it.
Yeah.
Because San Diego Comic Con isn't necessarily a Comic Con anymore.
Not anymore. It started as that, but I mean, you can't. Once it got popular, you're not going to really change the name of the con.
It's blown up. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than the comic books.
It's too big. But a Marvel Con would be fine. I think a DC Con would be fine too. Yeah. I mean, you know,
I think they need a couple good movies.
We have a Chico Con.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our own con.
That's an actual Comic Con though.
It does a few other things, but it's mostly comic books.
Yeah, it's mostly comic books.
But you can get board games and stuff there too.
That's true.
All kinds of things. There's they have art that you can purchase, people's own art.
Yeah.
Panels on fashion shows, all kinds of things. We've gone every year. That has been here.
I've gone once, and it was pretty fun. It was a good time.
It was a lot of fun, and it's getting bigger. They had to do it over at the fairgrounds.
Nice.
It got really big.
Cool. So. All right, well, that's the show for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have a question with the show, issues with the show, you can send us an email. The email is bigbms@zoho.com. If you want to hear more of what I have to say, you can check me out on my podcast. It's called Die Hard on a Blank. You can find that by searching Geek Wars. It's under the Geek Wars Podcast Network. Josh, anything you want to plug? Anything you got going?
I have nothing going on right now. Okay. This is it. I'm in here. Watch the show. If you want to find
Josh, you watch the show.
Watch the show. Watch my other episodes.
He's on a couple episodes. Yeah. Watch those too, yeah. All right, well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Next week, come on back. We're going to be watching Boo 2, a Medea Halloween with Susan Frawley. So that'll be a fun time. Come on back and watch the show. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.